Easter Island. The people who live here call it Rapa Nui. Magic, mystique and superstition. Mysterious caves and dark secrets. Intriguing rock illustrations and fascinating rituals. These structures measure between 4 and 10 meters high. Around 600 of these bizarre stone giants populate the loneliest place on Earth. Amid the roaring waves of the stormy South Pacific. The home of the famous Moais. Approximately 6,000 horses live on this small volcanic island. The first settlers arrived here in around 300 AD. For 250 years, a multitude of ethnologists and archaeologists from all over the world have come here to discover the secrets of the island of Rapa Nui. It is often referred to as the islands, but there is only one. It is one of the most isolated places on Earth. This volcanic island covers an area of 178 square kilometers, is 24 kilometers long and 12 kilometers wide. The island's large, angry-looking statues have sharp, elongated heads, long, narrow ears, deep-set eyes and thin lips. A large number of the first inhabitants' cruel rituals took place on the island's steep coast. It was here that many were sacrificed in the name of the gods. The island is located on the eastern point of the Polynesian Triangle, of which Hawaii and New Zealand make up the other two. Today, Rapa Nui has a population of 3,000. It consists of 34 clan families. At Easter in 1722, the Dutchman Admiral Roggeveen set foot here, thus the name Easter Island. In 1774, the famous seafarer James Cook landed on the island and was distressed by the poor health of its native inhabitants. "12 years later, there had been a complete transformation. A Frenchman named Pérouse encountered more than 2,000 friendly inhabitants. This impressive volcanic crater, with its many subterranean caves and passageways, is an indication of the island's dramatic past. And this enormous cave contains countless mysterious nooks and crannies. Deeper and deeper they lead into the heart of the volcano. With its 15 monuments, Ahu Tongariki was the island's largest location for cult ceremonies. The Moais point straight toward the volcano. This huge area is 215 meters long. The simple faces of the 4-meter-high figures contain a resolute expression. The majority of the statues point toward the village. The remainder face the stormy Pacific Ocean. The stone structures that are situated at Orongo, a former place of ritual, are cave-like buildings. This was where the dead were entombed. The dead were interred within small stone chambers known as Ahus. Thus these statues have retained their constant vigil on death. Inside the caves, the petroglyphs give the impression that they were constructed in more recent times. The walls are inlaid with mounds of stones. The work has been done with amazing attention to detail. There are illustrations and symbols. The Birdman was a frequently used image. The island has not always been as treeless as it is today. Trees would have been essential for the difficult task of both transporting and positioning the gigantic stones. On the south coast, the ruined temple complex and its keeled-over Moais are a reminder of when this island's culture was at its zenith. For its many horses, the island is a perfect paradise. They live in complete freedom and graze on lush meadowland. Here, on a foundation of basalt, the oval ruins of a house are clearly visible. The foundation of a boat-shaped house also demonstrates the advanced development of this island's original inhabitants. In the Bay of Anakena, some of the figures on the ledge of the Nau Nau contain heavy red coverings made from tuff. Was it meant to be a hairstyle or a hat? Hidden in the stone wall is a small cave that contains human bones. Even today, archaeologists frequently discover the skeletons of the island's first inhabitants. The round stones located in the meadow also contain the foundation of a dwelling, and also the typical outline of a boat. With its stone white eyes, this Moai is particularly striking. During the 1950s, the Norwegian researcher Thor Heyerdahl spent an entire year on Rapa Nui. When first discovered, not one of the figures stood on its original foundation. With the aid of the islanders, and by primitive means, Heyerdahl managed to re-erect a single Moai. In 1960, the statues of the cult location of Ahu Tongariki were re-erected under the direction of archaeologist William Malloy. Did these man-made stone giants represent the islanders' ancestors or their gods? It is still a mystery. Beginning in 1935, and for the next 30 years, the German pastor Sebastian Englert searched the island for its secrets. Today, his discoveries are on display in a museum. One of the finds, a skull, has been expertly reconstructed and now reveals the appearance of one of the island's original inhabitants. Stonemasons' tools provide valuable information about the working methods of bygone times. These 10 skulls were found in one of the numerous Ahus. That was the name given to the island's inhabited caves. The illustrated writing contains images of people, animals and plants. There are a total of 12,000 on display. The famous Rei Miro, of which this is a replica, is wooden breast armour that contains around 50 characters of Orongo text. Numerous circular stones, with their various sculpted designs, feature among the museum's most exceptional and treasured exhibits. The museum features a variety of stone formed from red ash. Some lighter ones are also on display. This stone is similar to a human face. Could it have been used as a model for one of the colossal statues? The fighting equipment of the island's first inhabitants is also featured. And the range of this weaponry is quite extraordinary. objects from the island are to be found in museums all over the world. It's possible to see them exhibited in Rome, London and Santiago. A model of the island gives visitors an ideal perspective of its dimensions. In 1972, an airport was opened on Rapa Nui that has made it accessible to visitors from around the world. The island's capital, Hangaroa, is like a small settlement. Virtually car-free, no parking meters and no stress. Easter Island's economy is based mainly on fishing and tourism, although agriculture also plays a part. Accommodation on the island is well organised. Its hotels and guest houses offer a good degree of comfort and of service. The view across the cliffs and ocean is breathtaking. It's a satisfying and relaxing sight after the adventures of the day. Here, green vegetation and tiny pools are a relaxing sight. The islanders are renowned for their hospitality. The Chilean government founded the 6,700-hectare national park in 1935. Rural life on Rapa Nui is idyllic. Travelling on horseback is a comfortable and interesting way to explore the island. On the slopes of the Rano Kao volcano, a path leads to a collection of hidden figures that are buried deep in the earth. The beaches are ideal for bathing, and there are intimate, isolated bays and magnificent sand. Perfect for a day on the beach. Roa's small sheltered market, there are handmade wooden carvings and traditional stone crafts for sale. Age-old traditions. Pretty shell necklaces and a tiny moai make cherished souvenirs. And there are traditional crafts alongside everyday wares. And also a colourful variety of fruit and vegetables. Fascinating performance of traditional song and dance is well worth seeing, and a captivating experience for one and all. Today's islanders are steeped in their own culture. They are particularly keen to maintain their music and dance traditions. Dressed in their wonderful bast and feather costumes, the islanders' traditional performances and their enchanting South Sea rhythms are an unforgettable experience. This dance group is performing the various traditional and ritualistic dances of their ancestors. Their festival preparations are made well in advance. Entire families make the costumes and rehearse their dances and songs. Costumes and festivals have great significance on the island, and also the annual election of the Reina Rapa Nui, the Queen of the island. The Queen is elected according to the number of votes she is awarded during various contests. Specialists from each family clan eagerly participate in several disciplines. Naked and painted with natural dyes, sitting on a tree trunk, contestants race down the slopes of Maungapui at up to 80 kilometers an hour. The traditional triathlon, that consists of running, swimming and canoeing, takes place at the crater lake of Rano Raraku. Carrying bunches of bananas on their shoulders, the athletes run around the lake and then swim across it. On the final stage of the exhausting triathlon, they paddle their self-made rush boats to the finishing line. Their frenetic rhythms and graceful hip movements are reminiscent of various famous movies that have featured the islanders' music and dance. From the excitement of the dancers, we move to the mighty stone giants with our long ears and bird-like bodies. On the craggy coastline at the foot of the Rano Raruka volcano, there are several stone giants that have fallen over and not yet been restored. Somewhat irreverently, the islanders call the 7 stone figures on the temple complex of Ahu Akivi the 7 monkeys. The extinct volcano of Rano Raraku that is today full of water, was once the sculptor's mountain of Easter Island culture. The inner slopes of the crater contain many useful plants. These include sweet potatoes, avocados and bananas. The holes in the stones are tantamount to small caves. Birds use them as nesting places to breed their young. Much of Easter Island's coastline is steep and rugged, with long, sheer drops. A violent civil war during the 18th century put an end to the work of the island's stonemasons. These stone monuments with their angry faces are like an army that is ever vigilant and protective of those on the island. Rituals once took place within the caves. To bleach their skin in preparation for religious festivals, young women were locked in the caves for long periods of time. The stone symbols, known as petroglyphs, inspire all those who see them. Each one is open to individual interpretation. The symbols of the birdman are located on the steep slopes of the crater. This holy place contains hundreds of images that have been carved into the stone. This mystical circle of stones is called Tepito o Tehena, namely the navel of the world. The stones contain complete stories. They are like a gigantic book with several chapters, just like this part of the island. piles of stones look as though they have been created by a ghostly hand. Was it on purpose? Or was it perhaps only a quirk of nature? Today, Rapa Nui's harbour is still extremely important. Many of the island's essential supplies are transported here by sea. The platforms are made of rough stone, and at their side have wing-shaped extensions and a smooth slope. The election of the birdman by the island's original inhabitants was very important. They believed that he was the earthly representative of the god Make. This island has always inspired the imagination. Since its discovery, the origin of its first inhabitants has been a mystery. Over the years, none of the island's simple appeal and fascinating mystique has faded. Rapa Nui is one of the largest cultural and natural treasures in the world, and a much prized heritage of civilization.